What's going on, everyone? Eric here. Hope you're all doing good today. In this video, we're going to be talking about a grinder. This right here, the Gemilai Molight grinder. I should know the name, shouldn't I? The Gemilai Molight G9010B. This is a grinder that is often sold as a pair with the Gemilai Owl and other Gemilai machines. Before we get into that, I want to ask you all to maybe like, maybe subscribe, maybe leave a comment, and if you decide to buy any of these things I talk about in the video, consider using the affiliate links down below. That helps me support the channel. Thank you so much. Let's get into it. So as you can see, it's not a bad looking grinder. It's a little bit different than most grinders. It's not trying to be kind of a slim Gem. It's got its own kind of hefty build. It's pretty, feels very, very sturdy. It builds itself as an all-purpose grinder, but it really specializes in espresso. After my testing, I found that espresso is really where it sings. It's got some pretty cool features, but before we get too into it, let's talk about the stats. Starting with the burrs, we have stainless steel burrs in here, and they are 38mm conical burrs. Relatively small burrs for conical burrs, but it's really never about the size. It's about the cut and geometry of the burrs. That's what gives you the grind quality, and I've had no problem with the actual espresso quality, so I can say that the burrs function well. They are just smaller than some of the burrs that are out there. As far as the motor goes, it's a 128-volt motor, and it uses 150 watts of power. And it's got an 80-gram hopper. As far as the speed, it is 430 rotations per minute, 430 RPMs. This is a stepped grinder. It has clicks, it has settings. It is not stepless. Stepless means that it's up to you how far and how little you twist things, and it's basically infinite range. This guy right here, it does have settings, which makes it a little bit easier for some of us to remember where our settings were, keep them in that range. Plenty of range here and plenty of click to let you tune in your grind depending on basically the type of espresso that you prefer. But I've found it does go fine enough and then some for very light roasts, and it definitely still keeps itself in range for darker roasts, which generally use a slightly coarser grind. So I've also used this for pour over. I used it around setting 11, which is the last setting is 12, so 11 to do a very light roast pour over, and also that was a small dose, only a 15-gram dose, and it was fine enough to do that. It didn't exactly make the pour over sing. It was a little bit muddled, so I don't know if I would recognize this if you're a light roast fanatic, but because it really, it was fine here at 11, it might not go coarse enough for darker roasts. So if you want to use this as a coffee grinder for, say, French press or pour overs or a regular coffee maker with darker roasts, this guy will not go coarse enough. It is dialed in a bit finer, at least mine is. You never know, these things aren't exactly standardized. One of the things we talk about when we review grinders is grinder tension. That means if you put 20 grams of beans in here and then you ground it, would you get 20 grams out? Now, after breaking in this grinder, doing a lot of testing, I found that it usually retains between 0.2 and 0.4 grams of coffee, and that's after vigorous kind of rocking it and giving it little slaps. It could definitely benefit from some bellows on here. If it had some bellows, I feel like the grind retention would be minimal and there really wouldn't be any problem. But I don't know if that's a deal breaker, 0.2 grams, 0.4 grams. You just have to add a couple extra beans to account for that. That does mean though that there is a bit of grind that's getting stuck up in here after every grind, and that's not uncommon. That's pretty common for all types of grinders. There's very few grinders that have solved that problem yet. Usually the solution is bellows, so you could buy some aftermarket bellows for this thing, but as it comes, you're going to need to give it a good amount of rocking and be whacking on it a bit to get any grind that is stuck in there out. That being said, it is very sturdy. It definitely does not feel cheap at all, so I feel comfortable kind of slapping it around. I don't mind. In the box, you get the grinder itself, you get a dosing cup for a 58mm portafilter, you get a little brush for cleaning it off, and you get that's basically it. It's really, really easy to take apart for cleaning. You just have to twist it and this pops off, and then the actual burrs themselves do twist out very, very easily if you want to clean them. So they do pop out very easily, which is good because you do want to probably be cleaning your grinder, especially if you're using it for espresso, at least once a week or so. And if it's that easy, it only takes 2 minutes. So that's good. Some other cool features it has The top of the hopper here, this is an 80-gram hopper. This has a little magnet built in it, and this little top of the hopper has a magnet, so that way this lid will snap on there and it won't be rattling off. That's a nice little thoughtful part of the design. The actual hopper itself, if you had to clean it, and though it's only an 80-gram hopper, you probably won't be keeping a lot of beans in here. If you wanted to clean it or something happened, you want to take it apart, you can lock the hopper. And that will close up these fins on the top here, and that will keep some beans from slipping out. Therefore, you don't have to worry about all the beans pouring out when you take off the hopper. So that's a thoughtful little design feature. Some other cool features of this machine. It has two settings, two kind of versions of how it would work. One is a time setting, and you can set the grinder to run as long as you set the timer, and that is the default setting. You'll be able to increase or decrease the timer on with these two little touchscreen arrows on this little touchscreen display. And very, very cool design where if you put your 58mm portafilter on there, it will just start grinding, and then it will grind as long as the timer is set for. That's really, really nice. Very, very, very advanced design for the price. So that is a really, really cool feature, and I like that a lot. The other option you have here is that you can set it for on and off manually, and that would be that you just hold down the power button for about 2 seconds. It will switch to manual mode, and then you click on the top arrow, and that'll start grinding until you click on the top arrow again. And that will be useful if you're using the dosing cup, which I think a lot of us will like to use, because when you have to knock on this and rock it a bunch, you don't want to do that with the portafilter on there because stuff might slip out. Some other cool things about it: if you are using the portafilter auto timed setting, it will pause itself if you take the portafilter off, so you can reshuffle and groom a little bit and then put it back on. It will continue grinding, so that's really cool. And that's basically more or less the high-tech stuff about this grinder. So I've been playing around with this guy, pulling a lot of shots, using the partner machine, the Gemilai Owl, with it, and all in all, I found that once I figured out the range for the espresso that I was using, it was fairly easy to dial in. I've been doing 18-gram doses. I found, first thing, I started on a 5 and the medium light roast, way too fast. Then I decided it's so fast I'm going to jump over to a 4. That was still way too fast. And then I jumped over to a 3, and I got in about the range, and I found that, and then I started kind of fine-tuning. I did find that for my palate, someone who likes lighter roasts, medium light roast coffees, I like there to be a lot of acidity, a lot of brightness. I don't like it to be like a battery acid in my mouth, but I like it to be floral and fruity and pleasantly citrusy. I found shots that run a little fast on this guy at a 2.5 ratio on this machine and with this guy were great. So I really, really have found the flavor that I'm getting from the shots is not lacking. So I don't really have any complaints about the performance of the grind. As you'll see, the grind is a little bit clumpy, and I use a WDT tool to break that up. You're going to want to have a collar for your portafilter so that you don't spill everything out. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, I had to finish shooting this on another day, so don't be weirded out that I've moved my chair, and also I'm wearing something different shirt. Okay, so let's go over pros and cons of this grinder. Pros: very solid build, aluminum alloy, just substantially strong, feels good, feels heavy, very, very good build quality. Next pro: portafilter auto start. Great user experience design. You just put the portafilter on there, it starts grinding, feels great, works great. Next pro, and this is a pro to some people and a con to others, it's approachable, it's easier to use, it's beginner friendly, it has steps, and once you find your range for your bean, it's very easy just to jump over one click one way or the other. Next pro is that it's just very easy to clean, very easy to take apart, just pops apart, and you do want to clean your grinder pretty often if you're using it every day, and if it's hard to take apart, you probably won't do it. So the fact that I can take this thing apart in just like a couple seconds and then just sweep out in here, I'm more likely to do it. So that is a definite pro. The next pro is the price as a combo. Now, as a combo with the Gemilai Owl, it's a really hard deal to beat. If you're getting this thing for the average cost, once you add up the espresso machine and the grinder, for like $100 to $150, that's amazing. There's not grinders that perform to this capability. not as far as hand grinders, yes, but plug in the wall, motorized grinder, it's good. It's for $100, $150, amazing value. That is a definite pro. Cons, getting into cons now, grinder tension, so-so, 0.2 grams to 0.4 grams. I suppose you could buy bellows for it, but yeah, that is a con. Grinder tension is not great. Next con, static. It's a little staticky. You're gonna get static everywhere. You're gonna definitely want to do a little spritz of water on your beans before you put them in here. So that's gonna reduce the static, but it is a staticky grinder. Next con is the touchscreen is a little iffy, and this was one that really annoyed me, especially in the beginning. Once I took off the plastic kind of protector, it worked a little bit better. But yeah, it's not the most responsive touchscreen. Sometimes you have to touch it 2 or 3 times to get it to respond, or you have to find the right way to touch it. I learned to use the grinder more. It's a little bit less finicky. I've learned the right way to touch that, but it's not the most responsive touchscreen. Con. Next con is, and this is another preference thing because it is a stepped grinder, you're gonna get a jump of 2 to 3 seconds between each click for your espresso, flow rate time. So a lot of people don't like that. A lot of espresso enthusiasts, a lot of espresso obsessed, hobbyists, they want more control over their espresso, and getting 2 or 3 seconds per click is a little bit much. And I'd say I'd err more towards the 3-second range for per click. It's these things, there's a lot of variables. But anyway, yeah, it's definitely meant to be an approachable, easy to use grinder. It's not designed to be for someone who wants precise and perfect control like a stepless grinder. Another con, I've heard that it doesn't do well with dark oily beans, that they kind of get stuck in here, and yeah, I wouldn't have tested that. I don't know for sure, but I would say that that is a problem for a lot of grinders. I'd also say that I'm not judging your taste preferences, but I would say that you want to avoid dark oily beans anyway. They're not great for grinders or espresso machines. Find a dark medium roast that matches your flavor profile with the kind of taste you like to find in espresso that's not oily, because oil, not good for grinders. Another con is I've heard if you use this as a timed grinder with a full hopper, it's not the most accurate thing. Like, let's say you set it for 18 seconds. Sometimes you might get 17 grams out. Sometimes you might get 19 grams out. I'd also say that if you're using it as a timed grinder, you don't really expect accuracy, and you might not be a finicky, single dose kind of person. But I have to put it out there. That is a con, not the most accurate timer. So my final takeaway on this is that it is a good grinder. It's not a great grinder. It's not a bad grinder. It is fine. It's not gonna knock your socks off, but it's also not gonna make you upset. Another pro about this is that the shots that I got out of it were tasty. With its pair machine, with the Gemilai Owl, the shots I made were good. And at the end of the day, that's what you want from a grinder. You want it to help you make good tasting espresso. It doesn't give you infinite control, so where you land on this grinder might be just based on the kind of espresso maker you are. And if you're a hobbyist, enthusiast, someone who really, really wants to get into the nitty-gritty, not the grinder for you. If you want something that's a little bit easier to use and you just want to be able to keep track of your settings very easily, once you find the range for your beans, you're like, this is good. I want to go a little faster, a little slower, 1 click either direction, cool. Then it's probably good for you. So that's a takeaway. It's fine. It's not for everyone. It is an interesting companion for the Owl. The Owl is definitely leans more towards the espresso geek kind of faction of people. Amazing deal for someone who just really wants to have a little bit more control than your average $300, $400 espresso machine. Someone who might lean towards Gaggia Classic Pro, hobbyist, like to play with things, don't mind quirks from espresso machines. This is more of a beginner-friendly espresso grinder, so this is kind of like a weird pair. They're kind of an odd couple. But does it work? Yeah, it works. The shots were good. So yeah, if I was paying full price, if I wasn't getting this as a deal, I would lean towards other grinders. If I was paying $200 or a little bit more than $200, there's other grinders I would get. For espresso, I would definitely lean towards the Hybrew G5 or the Turin DF40. Maybe if you want an all-purpose grinder, leaning more towards the Baratza Encore ESP. Yeah, so those are other grinders are in the $200-ish range that I would pick before this one if I was paying full price. So at the end of the day, Gemilai Molight, solid B grinder, no big problems. It's got its pluses, it's got its minuses. It's okay. Yeah, all right. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope that helps you make your decision. I hope that helps you consider this grinder, whether you like it or not. Thank you for watching. Hope this helps. As usual, like, subscribe, comment, affiliate links, blah, blah, blah. Bye-bye.